Okay, so here's your aim. You should have had the chance to copy that down word for word, including the number. And you guys all did the, most of you at least, did the do now. So I appreciate that. And we will continue. Okay, so we got a lot of red here. So I will give you guys a minute. Take down the subtopic and your important details here. Okay, so I will give you a minute and then we will continue. Okay, so while you finish up, we will go over a few things. So the first thing to make note of is we're going to use this term, the Neolithic Revolution. I think a lot of times when we use the word revolution, our minds are drawn to like warfare of some kind. We think the American Revolution, the French Revolution, etc. But in reality, the word revolution just means major change. Okay, now a lot of times major change in society is brought about by armed conflict. So we do see the word revolution used in reference to warfare often, but there's plenty of change that has been brought about society throughout human history that is not the result of violent activity. The Neolithic Revolution is a primary example. When we're talking about the major change here, we're talking about the major change in the way people's relationship with food evolves. Neolithic is Greek for new stone. So we said Paleolithic is old stone. Neolithic, new stone. So what is this major change? Essentially, life changed from hunting and gathering to what's called systematic agriculture, the domestication of animals, and therefore permanent settlements. And we will go over what each of those things means specifically. But the important thing to understand is down here at the bottom, these last two details. During the Paleolithic era, food controls people. And during the Neolithic era, people control food. So this is the major change in society that's taken place. So when we say the Neolithic Revolution, okay, what is the major change? This is the major change. Society changes from food controlling people to people controlling food. And this is going to have profound impacts for the way people live their life in a number of different ways. Okay, so next slide. Just two vocab words with some definitions. I will give you guys a minute. Okay, so while the rest of you finish up, these are the important definitions that we need to understand. So if food supply is, food supply is the same still, if you think about it, people eat plants, people eat animals. That's pretty much our choices. So the Neolithic Revolution just is really about how our relationship with plants and how our relationship with animals change with regard to them being a food supply for us. First is systematic agriculture. Instead of wandering the land in search of crops that are growing in the wild, we learn how to plant them on purpose and make them grow in a place that of our choosing, at a time of our choosing, with it, climate allowing. But this is a major thing. So this is like what's called farming. We will use the fancy word agriculture in reference to this, but in reality, people just learn how to farm. So instead of chasing crops around the globe, we bring the crops to us, grow them in one place, care for them, harvest them, and now we have a solid food supply. The other half of this equation is, that's how our relationship with plants change. How does our relationship with animals change? It's called domestication of animals. Now, that sounds like a big fancy term, but in reality, people invented the fence. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here. You're chasing animals around the globe. How do you get them to stop running away from you and getting away? Well, what if we can build some kind of wall that would prevent them from escaping? That's a fence, okay? So the domestication of animals is really just the invention of the fence, which doesn't seem like a very profound and technological advancement. But when you think about the impact of this development on, human society and human lifestyle, this is everything. So, life-changing inventions can be the microprocessor or artificial intelligence, or sometimes it could just be a bunch of wood that you nail together to make a fake wall. And if you think about the impacts of these technological developments, it's kind of interesting to think about. So systematic agriculture, farming on purpose, domestication of animals, we build the fence, figure out how to keep all the animals in one place at one time. Okay, I think this is the last slide. So I will give you guys a minute and then we will finish it up. Okay. Food surplus is an important thing because during the Paleolithic era, we didn't have a food surplus. Every day you were searching for the food that you needed to survive that day. And if you had a couple of days of bad luck, you were dead. Well, with the Neolithic Revolution, now we have a surplus of food. And we have more than enough for one particular day. So if we have a rough day or two, we have reserves to go into. This had profound impacts for lifespan and quality of life in general. So that's number one. Number two, during the Paleolithic era, if you read through the text last period during the classwork, you realize that every waking minute and every aspect of everyone's life revolved around getting a hold of food. But now that we have more food than enough, we don't need 100% of the population to focus on gathering food. We only need some of the people. So, maybe we only need 20% of the population. Well, that frees up a lot of people to do different things. And now we end up with job specialization, which is different people doing different jobs. And this is important because this is the beginning of, people making things, advancements in technology, advancements in shelter, the development of different systems and different technology that wasn't available to us because we just didn't have the manpower available to concentrate on these things. And the surplus of food changes that and allows people to specialize doing different things that they hadn't been able to do before. So this is all food surplus. And just one other thing I did want to mention about the previous slide, really, domestication of animals. And this is something that we went over. The invention of the fence. Yeah, okay, great. The animals can't run away, but now we can do other things with fences too. For example, if I have a herd of cows or something, I don't really want to keep getting skinny little cows that don't produce a lot of milk. I want the big, huge, crazy cows, that produce a lot of milk, because that makes my time, more effectively used. I don't want to pour a bunch of labor into raising an animal that doesn't give me much back. So what I want to do is I want to start selecting which cows breed with which other cows. And what I could do is I could group those cows up together in their own fenced-in area. And I could perform what's called selective breeding. Now I could get like a super herd of super cows. And that's really the beginning of selective breeding. And this has profound impacts on food also. So I just wanted to point that out from last period. Okay, so on our classwork page, we did AIM 2.1 last period, so we should be good to go there. And here is AIM 2.2, Neolithic life. So we're going to essentially use the same worksheet that we used last period here. So we should have finished the Paleolithic life using that section from the from the textbook that I provided to you. And now we're ready to go and complete the side for Neolithic life. So a lot of the same aspects: shelter, technology, food source, occupations. Why are these boxes X'd out? Well, in the textbook for Paleolithic life, like we mentioned, there's not a lot of different jobs that people have because everyone's focused on food. But that changes with the Neolithic life. Now people can have different jobs. So now we have some information on that particular topic. What this document doesn't go over really is gender roles. So you can kind of forget about the gender roles box for Neolithic life because our resource doesn't really touch on that, but it does touch on all these other aspects. So what I would like you guys to do is I would like you to use the PDF that's attached here. Excuse me, hold on, that's the wrong one. So this PDF that's attached here breaks down aspects of life during the Paleolithic period. So food supply, occupations, shelter, technology. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to use this document to complete the Neolithic life side of the graphic organizer. And just make sure you always pay attention to exit slips. They are a major part of the classwork. And this kind of informs, that learning objective. So if the learning objective for 2.2 was what was the Neolithic Revolution and how did life change as a result of it, If you look at the exit slip, how did life change for people as a result of the Neolithic Revolution? So it aligns directly to the learning objective. So if you don't answer this question, I won't be able to figure out whether or not you learned what I need you to learn. So always make sure you pay attention to exit slips, and always, always, always answer your exit slips.